right, welcome to Hickory. Let's go take a look at this bitch. Let me tell you how we got paid $1.8 million up front to buy this apartment building. All right, so first, we built a relationship with a commercial real estate broker to find this 415 unit property for us. This property cost $24.75 million at the time, but we didn't have that money. We needed to raise $8.5 million. We didn't have that money. So number two, we started to attend family office events and use the principles that I learned in how to win friends and influence people to build the relationships with two billionaire groups that we then ended up pitting together against each other on this deal. Number three, I read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss to understand negotiation strategies so that I can negotiate with these billionaire groups, because it was freaking intense. Number four, I practiced visualization, meditation, affirmations to remind me continually of the value that we brought into the deal. And even though, man, there were multiple times where things didn't go as planned, because things never go according to plan, we never lost faith in us and who we are and what the value we bring to the table. Ultimately, we agreed to let the group out of Connecticut invest the entire $8.5 million into this deal, as long as they paid us $1.8 million up front and allowed us to maintain a good ownership percentage of this deal. They agreed. So in short, we increased our net worth by millions at acquisition. Number one, because we believed we could, and number two, because we weren't afraid to put in the work. This deal took a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of heartache, a lot of freaking sacrifice. But listen, if you're willing to sacrifice in the short term, you will benefit in the long run. We bought this property for $24.75 million, sold it 3 years later for just shy of $52 million. The equity from that's a lot more than $1.8 million. But where did that come from? That comes from belief. Listen, man, I have a lot of resources, but my belief in God is my biggest resource, because it always reminds me to believe in myself. So whatever your belief is, always believe in yourself, because you absolutely have what it takes. As long as you believe what it takes and you actually do what it takes, you can also do whatever it is you want to do. Like buy a big ass apartment building. Boom. We created $27 million of equity on these apartments in 3 years. Let me tell you how we did this. Okay, first, did we build a good relationship with the broker? Well, first, we had to get established in this area. You know what that took? That took doing a deal that we didn't want to do. It was a 40-unit deal that we didn't want to do. Smaller deal. But we knew that relationship leading to bigger and better deals like this. So we sacrificed in the short term with no guarantees that this would ever be brought our way, but hoping that it certainly would by being established here. Bought the 40 unit very shortly after this deal. 415 units was created. So we built a great relationship with the broker. We built a great relationship with a tough seller, dude, a seller who was older, a seller who was cheap, a seller that was just tough to work with, dude. We expressed patience, worked on this deal, man, for a year, from infancy to like when we got it to when we actually closed. Man, we're able to negotiate an amazing price, $24.75 million. There was low rents on this property, and remember, apartment buildings are valued by the income, the rental income. So we were able to see that, man, this is an owner that had been very comfortable. And he had some poor operations, but he was very, very comfortable. So we were able to come in here, improve operations, increase the rent, which then increases what we call the net operating income, which then increases the value of the property. So once again, there's forced appreciation, and we forced a bunch of appreciation on this property by rent increases, which operations first off, which then increases occupancy, also increases the rent gains. We put money into these to take classic units and turn them into premium units. Also helps with rent gains. All those things made this a very, very, very profitable deal for us, man. And then after driving the value up and the operations up and just the overall living experience for tenants, like really that's what you're doing. When you come in and you improve operations, you improve the interiors, yeah, you're raising rents, but you're raising rents because your tenants are willing to pay that because you're providing a better quality product. But as we're doing that, we're always looking at the market. We call it a CMA. Always looking at what we could sell for, always looking at what the value is. Well, we exited 3 years later because we saw what the market was doing. We saw how we could exit and maximize our returns at that point, and we struck when, before interest rates started to rise up, which means we're able to maximize our exit price on this thing. that's what it takes, man. It takes buying a good deal, but it takes all of those things I'm talking about. We got a good price, but it takes the upfront, it takes the operations, and it takes knowing when to exit to really maximize your returns. Sometimes we have to hold longer. Sometimes we sell sooner, but all the time we're looking, we're managing, we're always on top of this kind of stuff, because that's what we've promised our investors that we'll do, is to stay on top of it so that they don't have to, but they benefit from it. All right, anytime I go tour a property, okay, here's my basic framework of what I do. The first thing that we do, which we just did the same thing today, is number one, you got a plan, okay? So my advice to you is, before I even get into the framework, number one, plan. Like, have your team with you. Like, your property management company is awesome. If you already have a relationship with a property management company, bring one of them with you to come and walk, because they're gonna see things that you don't see. Great for you to understand a little bit of the layout of the actual market that you're in, which hopefully you've already done that. But once I get to the apartment, okay, step one is I'm gonna drive around the exterior. We did the same thing here today. We drive around the exterior, but when I'm driving around the exterior, I'm definitely looking at kind of the layout of where the buildings are. I'm looking at the exterior, the siding, right? So you have two types of siding here. This one is more of just a vinyl siding. There's also some hardy plank on some of these other buildings. This one's more of a brick construction. I'm looking at the roofs and the conditions of the roof. I'm looking at some of the landscaping that needs to be done here. You know, I noticed some of the vinyl siding over here that has broken off, something like that probably needs to be addressed. I'm looking at some of the AC units. Are they in good condition? Are there cop cars and things all over the place? If so, what's going on? Maybe that's an ambulance. I'm also looking at murders on the property. Is there anybody? So I'm looking at all the exterior features, right? I'm looking at the parking lot, what condition the parking lots are in. I'm looking at what amenities do they have? Do they have a tennis court? Do they have a pool? Do they have pickleball? Do they have dog parks? What do they have there? I'm looking at the trash bins is another one that I'm big on, is when you come into the apartment, are there trash bins? Are they messy? Do we need to cover them up? Are they right at the front or are they at the back? Where are they at? Those can be big eyesores. I'm looking and getting a feel for the exterior and what we can do to improve the curb appeal. Because regular trash pickup is a good thing, okay? But I'm looking at these exterior features through the lens of a tenant. Okay, so if I'm a tenant and I'm coming to live here, what would be an eyesore to me? What would be like, hey, that looks cool, or hey, that looks good? What is it, right? I'm looking at the types of cars that we have in the parking lot. Are these really shitty broken down cars? Are these really nice cars? What do we have? Oh my God, Chris. All right, so we're looking at all the exterior features, right? So look at the parking lots, do they need to be repaved? I'm looking at some of the siding, does it need to be replaced? The roofs, what is the curb appeal to a potential tenant? That could be a good thing or a bad thing. What could I change or improve? Or dude, what's a good thing, right? But what could we change or improve? Once again, this whole time I'm trying to formulate some sort of a business plan on this property. Then I'm also gonna be looking at the cars in the parking lot. Are they nice cars? Are they really, really shitty cars? Like, all of that is part of the curb appeal, by the way. When a tenant comes in, they see a bunch of nice cars, or at least okay cars. Phase one, step one of this framework is just the exterior, right? Once again, the curb appeal. The cars, are they nice? Are they not? Are those the curb appeal to tenants? And then also looking at exterior value adds, the amenities, the things that we can do on the apartment. Number two is then I'm gonna go toward the leasing office. When I go toward the leasing office, remember, okay, first thing that I wanna do is walk in as like, dude, a potential tenant. They're gonna think that you're a potential tenant in the very beginning. So I'm like really surveying, how do they treat me? Because how they treat me will be dependent on how they treat my other tenants that come in. Maybe we wanna keep this property management company, these on-site employees, maybe we don't. Also, what condition is the clubhouse in, the leasing office in? Is it in good condition? Is it outdated? Does it need to be redone? Another thing is your planning and is your like just things that you need to get set up before, right? So plan, make sure you have enough time to tour and do everything. Make sure your team's with you. Also, man, take pictures and notes. You're not gonna remember everything. So I'm taking pictures of different things. I'm taking notes of different things. I like to use we call it a project management software. We use ClickUp. So when I'm coming through, I like to use ClickUp to take my notes and to keep some pictures. Because once again, man, when I'm coming to tour an apartment, I'm not just touring one apartment. I'm gonna tour a handful of apartments when I come into a market, dude, because I I want to have options on which ones I can buy. And then also dress the part, man. Like, you are walking these apartments and posing, really a lot of times you're even posing as a tenant. So dress the part, man. Tennis shoes, don't wear dress shoes, don't wear a suit. Like, dude, wear something that's comfortable. You're walking, man. Your ass is gonna be walking, so plan. So you have your first initial exterior phase. Now you're gonna actually go to the leasing office and you're going to pose as a tenant. The only property that I walk and pose as a potential tenant is the target property that I'm buying, that I'm looking at buying. Because I wanna know, how do they treat me? Like, I'm literally gonna go in there and like pose as a tenant to understand how do they treat me, because that will help me understand how they treat future potential tenants. There's three major things that I wanna see, man. I wanna see the leasing office and the staff there and how they treat me. Number two is I wanna look at some of the amenities, like the amenities on the apartment. So what condition, what amenities would I like to use? What condition are those amenities in? Do they have amenities but they're shitty and not in good condition? So they're there, but I can't use them? Because if I see it every day and I can't use it every day, that's gonna piss me off. And then number three is the unit tours. Those are the three major things that I want to check off as I'm posing as a potential tenant. So I'm looking at it through the eyes of a tenant. How does the staff treat me? I'm gonna look at some of the landscaping throughout the entire side of things as well, because that's also a big deal. And then I'm gonna go into the unit. I'm gonna see what the floor plans look like. What different floor plans do they have? What are they charging for rent? What are they charging for? Not just rent, but what else are they charging for? For example, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna see, okay, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms? I'm gonna see, do they have a washer and dryer hookup? Maybe they even have, we've bought properties where we're doing our initial walkthrough and we see that they have washer and dryers in the apartments, but they're not charging for them. Well, okay, that's a value add opportunity. I'm looking at the shower and the toilet, and are they energy efficient? Are there things that we could do to save there? Are they a classic unit or are they a premium product? How many of these that I'm looking at are classic? Which means we can now take that, do a unit turn, make it a premium product and realize more rent gains. Those are the things that I'm looking at, those three major aspects when I'm touring the property as a tenant. Okay, so there's three different phases you're going through this. First phase we talked about, you're gonna drive the exterior, look at the exterior. And then during that time when you visit the leasing office, you're gonna walk in and pose as a potential tenant to see how they treat you. Phase two though is now you're gonna let them know that you're looking at buying the property. You need to let them know that you're looking to buy, and now they're gonna be able to give you this view from a different lens. So you're gonna, number one, there's three things that I wanna do when I come to like tour this as a potential buyer. One is I want to interview the on-site manager. And I don't say, hey, let me interview you, but I'm just asking them questions. How long have you been at the property? What are the amenities that are used the most? What are the biggest complaints you have on the property? If you had a magic wand, what would you fix? What would you change? Hey, when was the last time the roofs were replaced? Like, I can even just look at these roofs right now and you can tell they've been replaced recently. But when did they get replaced? When was, is there a time that it was reskinned? What about the HVAC systems? When were those last replaced? The windows, what condition are they in? When are they replaced? Anything that I'm trying to gain from them of what their experience has been. How's current ownership? Like current ownership, if you could change something about the current ownership, I'm trying to interview them by asking basic questions to understand what their viewpoint is. Because I'm really trying to determine, do I want to keep this person or not? Number two is now I want to go tour some of the amenities. So I want them to take me around to the amenities. I want to know what are the amenities and which ones get used the most. And then are there amenities that they would suggest that we add? And then number three is our unit tours. So I'm going to have them take me to, ideally I would like to see every different type of floor plan. Sometimes that's not possible because tenants are there, but I want to see as many of the different floor plans as possible. And I'm looking at, are these classic units or are they premium units? Meaning, are they upgraded or are they just, outdated? The appliances, are they outdated? I'm looking at the toilet, the shower heads, like are those, energy efficient? It's crazy because all those things are gonna help you spot value add opportunities. Remember, these apartments are valued by the operating income, by the net operating income. So if I can come in here and I can see ways that I can decrease expenses. For example, if I see that every single toilet in here has an old standard flush toilet that flushes, it's a 4-gallon flush. This is a 415 unit apartment. Let's say there's 600 toilets. Can you imagine the energy efficient toilet flushes a third of that? Can you imagine how much water we can save over 600 toilets? In your own single family home, not a ton. Here, 600 toilet, a ton. I'm also looking Is there washer and dryer hookups? Are there washer and dryers in the unit? Once again, what amenities do they have? What are the selling points of this property? And also, what are the downsides of this property? What are the problems the properties have? See, I'm not just looking for the upsides. I want to know what the problems they have are, because problems, man, our job is to solve problems. And I want to look for problems to solve because that's very valuable. And man, providing value creation is the key to wealth creation. So how can I provide value to drive the value to drive our wealth on this property? As we toured the leasing office, as a tenant, we saw that it was outdated, so we redid. But as we were touring as a buyer, they showed us that upstairs there was almost like a employee hangout area. Yeah, but dude, nothing really valuable. Like, there's plenty of space downstairs for the employees to hang out. There's an employee hangout area. Well, what we did is we immediately saw how that could be of value to the families here by putting computers, literally like an office space for our tenants to use. So we converted that area into something that would actually provide value to tenants, which then provided value to the bottom line, because once again, the more value you can put in place, the more things that are an upside to your tenants, the more that you can charge in rents. So you got to be looking at those things as you're touring your apartments.